Okay.
Hello, everybody. Today we have brothers. Now we're talking about brothers. And there's brothers of all types, like you have brothers that are really close and brothers that never see each other, or brothers that fight all the time, or they never speak to each other ever again. But these brothers are different in some way, and you'll see why. They were estranged. They were really close at one stage, I'm sure. And then they just lost their way and they lost each other on different paths. And then they got together again. And that's probably a good story. But there's another one. How are they together now after so many years? And what fear broke them apart? And have they found their freedom now? Well, I don't know. We'll see. And of course, one of the brothers is Dino. So hello, Dino. How are you?
Hello. Welcome, brother.
Thank you, brother.
And the other brother is Manny Miliotis, or Emmanuel, whichever way, but.
Or Manoli, either way.
Or Manoli.
Manoli is my shortened Greek name.
Manoli sounds more Greek, right?
Yes.
Welcome. And it's an honor and pleasure to have you both here and to see how the two of you really are together. Right here, right?
You can't see this in one podcast, though.
Yeah. It's a very strange dynamic.
Very complicated. Carina.
Yeah, very complicated.
Okay, well, what's so complicated about it?
Well, first, it's his first podcast. So let me just go through a few things that might help him. So what you have to be relaxed, but not too relaxed.
Okay.
You have to have your hands up, but not too high, but don't put them down either.
Not too low.
Okay.
All right.
You got to look happy, but not too happy. Don't frown. Otherwise, you'll do all right. No pressure.
That's great. Love it.
Okay. Now back to the show.
Okay, well, that sounded like good enough. Let's see. We'll have to watch now that you're doing the right thing. And Manoli, I don't know if you ever saw, I'm sure you saw Dino's first episodes when we first started the podcast, or his very first one.
I don't think I saw the first ones, actually. I think I saw the one starting probably in December and January, yeah.
Oh, you're better off. The first one I was, well, I'm very happy with how the book turned out, Carina. And, you know, I was like that.
Yeah. No, I think you guys look great. The podcast that I've seen, it was very natural, very.
Because we don't have an outline. We don't even have a script. We just wing it every time.
It's amazing.
Who's asking me, what's this thing going to be about? And I
Because
said,
I don't know.
I don't know.
How do you not know?
You don't know?
Okay, no, you don't know. Okay, so let's talk about fear, because fear is what the podcast's about, okay? So tell me, Manoli, I mean, I know a bit because Dino and I have been chatting a lot. We've got 16 episodes now. So we've got to know each other pretty well, right? And he talks a bit about about the fear that he's gone through. And at one point, when he went into rehab, you thought he was dead. Tell us a bit about how you felt about that and the fear of losing your brother, even though at one point he said, you know, I was so horrible that people wouldn't even care if I lived or died.
Yeah, no, that's not true. I mean, I've always cared. I mean, I think the word estranged, when you first introduced us, is probably a little bit of a misnomer. I don't think it was estranged. I think if you read his book, and you have, and other people have, I think he was following his path, and his path, you know, unfortunately didn't leave a lot of room for a lot of the past relationships, in part maybe because of the addiction, in part because, you know, he's chasing, you know, these business dealings that, you know, are all consuming. So I think at that time of his life, there wasn't a lot of room for other relationships, really. So it wasn't like we got in a fight or we got upset with one another. That really wasn't the case.
You read my book.
So yeah. So anyway, that's really kind of sort of what happened. And then I think the scary part for him, and if that's what he wanted to do, that's fine. I mean, to me, the door was always open. I never had hard feelings for him or anything like that. But I was saddened that we weren't closer. But I wasn't upset per se. I think the more upsetting thing was, you know, when he was probably in the height of his addiction, some of the calls he made were really nonsensical. It was like, you know, what is he saying? Some of the things where he was saying was, I mean, he's normally crazy, but it was extra crazy. It was beyond the normal stuff.
I gotta admit that is true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that was a bit scary, and I didn't really know how to help him, right? And anyway, the long story short, he found a way to get help, and then, you know, we kind of started reaching back, and it's kind of like we picked up where we left off, really 35 years ago. Yeah.
Well, that's cool. So you're still climbing trees and creating havoc, like you probably did when you were small. I think the two of you must have been.
Allegedly, there's no heaven.
Oh, yes, allegedly.
Nobody's
yes.
caught us yet in the act, so you know you can't prove that.
Oh, okay.
I think it's a good fun. I don't want to say havoc, but yeah, fun.
No, havoc's a nice word too.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, havoc's so nice word, right? So Dino, tell us a bit about you and and your brother, and how are you feeling about that? And I know that's a very difficult one because of everything that was happening in your life, and especially with alcohol. And
This is one of the first ones, the first episode that I actually put some thought in. I mean that, like, I had some time to think. Obviously, you're not surprising me with the subject matter. I know it's my brother, and we said this is the Miliotis Boys Unplugged, so we're going to stay true to that. I came up with a revelation, and it's a pretty cool analogy, right? So when we grew up, we were extremely close. We did everything together. My mom even dressed us in the same shirts. And we're not twins. We're 3 years apart,
Right.
basically.
Wow.
But we always wore the same thing. Here's what people need to understand. Where are you looking?
looking at you.
Look at the person talking. That's what you normally do.
No, you're supposed to look at the camera.
Oh, okay.
Remember?
That's my media.
No, in
Okay.
the media, you don't look at the other guy.
That's what they do. No,
It's cool. This is a conversation. We like having coffee, right? Oh, cheers.
So there is havoc a little bit between the brothers. Anyway, so growing up, we grew up in a very strict Greek community. We went to private Greek school. My dad was a Greek school teacher.
Our teacher for a few years.
Yeah,
And
and so
Oh, that must have been bad.
that
Oh, yeah.
sucked.
well, we'll come back to that story later.
Yeah. So I mean, one of the things is, I mean, our family didn't have any money. My mom worked full time. My dad obviously was a full-time teacher, and he worked in the evenings. They didn't have money for childcare, for babysitting for me. Okay. So when my brother is in school in second grade, yeah, they put me in kindergarten a year before I was supposed to be in there. Not because I was an advanced child, you know, educationally or whatever, but because the kindergarten was my babysitter.
Right.
Okay. One of the perks of my dad being a teacher, you know, they didn't have
Right.
money, but you could pull a few strings with the church and the school, and there I am. So I loved kindergarten. I really did, everything about it. And it was nice that my brother, you know, was nearby. I mean, the school was, you know, on an empty lot full of white rocks. There were mobile homes, double wide mobile homes, and each one represented a class. I mean, that was our school. So I remember finishing kindergarten, and I'm all happy, and everybody's taking home those gold stars and the, you know, diplomas and everything. And when it was all over, it was the following year, everybody comes to school. I'm excited. Guess what? I went to kindergarten again. Only this time it was for my age. So all the people that were in my original class, they moved down to first grade. My brother was in what, second or third grade. So I was very confused, but I had friends in my current kindergarten class, my former kindergarten class, who was my first grade, and then his class too. So all our friends were mutual. And
Nice.
which is something I think that's unusual, because if you look at the pecking order with little kids, they're like, oh, wow, you're dealing with a second grader. You know, it's a big deal. It's a big jump.
Right,
For me,
right.
it didn't seem like anything, right? We were close, and we had a very, very close relationship throughout the early years and the early teens. Now, this is my recollection. This is my revelation. We happened to have a job together at the same place, which was, if you think about it, it's kind of cool, but it was a part-time job. It was a friend of my dad's who did like the equivalent of like radiant heating in, call it HVAC, like that. And so my brother was interested in being an architect. I wanted to be a psychiatrist, but of course that was years away. And I wasn't driving yet. I think I was 15, maybe 14. So my brother was driving, and obviously he's thinking about what he's going to do after college.
Mm-hmm.
So my dad found us this job with a friend of his where we could work part-time. And my brother, one of his functions was to kind of help like draft and design things for different businesses that wanted to install this HVAC radiant thing,
Yes.
right? Kind of an important thing.
Yeah.
I looked at it that way, and for him, what a great thing on his resume.
Mm.
For me, my job was to go in there, and usually they would get loads of these greasy pipes,
Yeah.
metal
Remember
pipes.
that, yeah.
Yeah, that sucked. And I was responsible for unloading these heavy metal pipes, which cut and they burned and, all that stuff, and stock them in the warehouse. And if I wasn't doing that, it was just to make sure that the shelves were stocked, we had paper, little things like that. Now, I know it's a part-time job, and I know I'm only 14, 15 years old, but it was the first time where I looked at my brother. I mean, it's that awkward age, right? Where throughout our whole lives, that was for me, 13 and 15 was probably the most awkward. He had a growth spurt. He had different friends outside of the Greek school, because now we're in public school. And I still have a little baby fat. I'm a little confused. I'm still shorter than him, so he spurted up, and I'm just this little. It was the time that I remember was marked differences between us, right? And it was kind of intimidating. So I'm watching him draft these things, and I'm sitting there. Now, everything I do fast. It's just a game I play with myself. So it was like, unload the truck, unload this greasy pipe as fast as you can. Okay, what needs stocking? What needs this? And then I found that I had a lot of time left over.
Yeah.
And while he's busy drafting and doing stuff, and I'm watching him, he's like busy at work. I'm sitting there like doing nothing. And I felt bad. I'm like, what do I do? I have to act like I'm doing something. So I would do like stupid things throughout the rest of the day just to look busy. Like if somebody looked at me, hey, how you doing? Oh, I still have that thing to unload, even though it was unloaded. And I started thinking to myself, I'm like, if this is what office life is, I don't want it. And I'll tell you why, because and I also looked at office politics, experienced office politics for the first time. I don't know if you remember this, but there was an office gal there named Linda. Yeah.
See?
And
We haven't talked that name in 45 years.
right. And she hated us. Not
She liked
because
me. She liked me.
that's what you think.
She liked me.
Yeah. Whatever. Okay. But the point is she had
Okay,
this
wait.
attitude.
Just hold that
What?
thought. How do you know
What?
whether she liked your brother or not?
Well, because she made faces behind us. You
She
weren't
was
even there.
tough. She was tough. She was tough, but I had cracked her, and we worked really well together.
Is that why she made faces behind your back?
She didn't make a face.
How do you know? It was behind your back. Anyway, you can think what you want. So here's the thing. I think that she felt like, here's some kids, that have connections. They pulled a few strings.
I think that part's true.
Yeah,
In the
she's been
beginning.
working there for so many years, and she's making, I don't even know what she was making, X amount of money. And then all of a sudden we're coming in, like she thinks I'm gunning for her job, which I could care less about her damn job. But I guess that's politics. And I was exposed to it early enough. And I was exposed to the fact that if you work really fast and really efficiently, there's nothing left to do the rest of the day. What do you do? Are you bored?
Right.
So
right.
See,
it was,
I never knew he was thinking that.
yeah.
I had no clue. This
Revelation.
First time I've heard it.
There
yeah.
you go.
Yeah.
So, well, this is why it's Miliotis Unplugged. Okay, so, So, I started having doubts about going to school and getting a job, getting a diploma. And I'm like, if I'm going to get a diploma, is this what life is going to be for me? Am I going to be
Right.
sitting in an office and be like efficient? And then the rest of the day I'm twiddling my thumbs. I was kind of tossing with this idea in my head, right?
Mm.
By 16, the very following year, he started after that, he started getting consumed in studies. So almost every night you guaranteed he wasn't out with our friends. He was in his bedroom with a little lamp on and your books and stuff, and he would study like all night.
That was mainly during college, but yeah.
Studied all the time, right?
Mm.
At 16, I started my job, right, as a usher in a theater. And then I got that gig, doing the cleaning business at night. And then I got that other job delivering plates. So that's 3 jobs. And I started learning that, hey, I could be efficient at all these things and I could make money everywhere. And it was like a beautiful thing for me, right? Because I wasn't hanging out with him as much because he was focused, rightfully so, on his studies, right? And he was always studying, always busy. By 19, he was no longer here. He graduated.
But you're 19.
Yeah, when I'm 19.
My
Yes,
22,
yes.
after I graduated, I left.
Yeah, right away.
Left
Gets hired.
Chicago and I got hired down here and I've been here ever since.
Yeah, he's been here ever since. So it's basically that job that, happens in like the 50s where you work for the same company, you get a gold watch and you retire. I'm like, that stuff doesn't happen. But he's living proof that it happens, right?
Wow.
So,
Wow. That's
Yeah, worked for 36 years in the same company.
When
wow.
I'm 19.
And you never got bored.
No.
You can
So
see
when
the-
when I'm 19, I start my business. And, from that point on, I've been an entrepreneur ever since. I mean, think about it, Carina. How do you go back to a school where you open up a book and look at theory and listen to lectures and listen to suppositions and assumptions when I'm experiencing stuff from the age of 16, that money is just beautiful. It's coming in. I'm getting rewarded for every single thing that I do as quickly as I can do it, as efficiently as I can do it. And I'm not, trying to run out the clock and say, well, I got 2 hours to act busy. I don't have an office gal making faces at me because she thinks I'm going to take her job. I mean, so that was the path that I started choosing. Plus, as we talked about, proving my father wrong. Hey, you're nothing without an education. That's the path I went on. From 19 years old, me being 19, until recently, the only time that we've ever gotten together is more what I call, you may disagree with this, but more like formally. We get together
For events, yeah.
for events,
My
right?
marriage, my son's
weddings and
baptism.
funerals and baptisms.
Yeah.
I mean, the one exception was, well, you came and visited us in North Carolina with Peter and Lee when they were the same age.
Yeah.
Probably when they were 10. Maybe that was the one and only family trip and then there actually two family trips in all these years. One, he came to visit me when his son, which is now 30.
Yeah.
30 was maybe about 10. And then
Wow.
one was probably 2 years before my dad passed away, when we went all to Idaho. My dad really wanted us to get together and we visited him. And that's the only 2 family trips other than weddings and things like that
Right.
we went to. Yeah.
Right. So we never really got together. I mean, obviously we love each other, we're close and stuff, but we never we never spent time like people do, like families do, like talk about things other than, well, let me tell you about what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Let me tell you about how big my car is. Let me tell you how big my house is. I mean, it was always like that kind of a thing,
I mean,
right?
the stuff that he wrote in his book, I mean, sure. I mean, the stuff that he experienced while I was still in Chicago, I mostly remember and it's pretty well recollected the way I remembered it. But anything after that, I really didn't know. I mean, I knew maybe from a phone call here and there that he was involved in workers' comp or this, that, and the other, but I didn't really know the flat backstory until really the book came out.
Yeah, because I mean, I'm doing so many things and people are like, well, what do you do? It's just, it takes too long to explain. So I would always be like, I'm doing fine. Because at the end of the day, I would think, does it matter? Here's my point. Let me bring it on home. So knowing that background and knowing that he started a career, the path that he chose, I chose a career that took me through a different path. And all through my experience of chasing riches, and that was the only thing that I thought I ever wanted. Here we are 45 years later, 40 years.
36, 37. Yeah.
And we're both in the same town, living in the same town. We're both relaxed and comfortable with who we are. There's no competition. It's just pure enjoyment of being together. We picked up where we left off. And it really, I mean, up until now, and you may think this is, you know, a line, but it's not. It took me this long to realize that there wasn't a good path or a bad path. They were just different. And we've ended up at the same place.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
I love it. Yes.
So all this time where I mean, I don't know if you could go back in time and you could say, wow, I wish I had more time to spend with you. I don't think either of us were in that point where, I mean, we had to do our mission, you know. Now, the thing that impresses me, you know, like I say with me, well, you know, I'd like to think like I touched the world, and I like to think that, you know, I'm a charismatic figure and I'm using that for good, that I have a gift and this and that, right? And I've done a lot of great things, I'll say it. But here in the sleepy little town over 40 years that I didn't know, because even when I came here, I never really spent time with the community. It was just you.
You in and out. Yeah.
Right. But it was the last few months that I've lived here was the first time that I actually looked around to see what my brother has done. Let me tell you what he's done. He's had a hand in creating a Greek community here that you would not believe. The love and support and the fellowship. There's a lot of people that go to the Greek church that aren't even Greek. They don't even speak Greek, but they go. And, you know, he's there, he's involved in his community. I won't say the town, so I could say this. They leave their doors unlocked.
I love it. It's beautiful.
Not anymore.
Wow.
Not anymore.
He has a great relationship with his kids, where, believe it or not, they actually want to hang out with this guy.
Yeah.
They don't like, oh, we gotta go over Dad's. They want to. They hang
They
out.
were here before he got here.
Yeah.
Before we got online.
Their friends hang out with his kids. It's like one big community. They come over and do Super Bowl. They make food. We go to game night at a local pub, and have a lot of fun. And these are the things that to me are remarkable. His house is home base. There's always, everybody knows that it's home. Now, in all the great things that I've conquered, and I like to think that I'm a warrior, I've never had a home base. I've never had that relationship with my kids. And I have a great relationship again with my kids. But this just floored me. I'm like, who are you people? This is something that I was just amazed to see. So where I think I did great things, look at this guy. You see what I mean? I think that I'm coming to realize that everybody has a very interesting story.
Yes.
Whether they're charismatic or not, sometimes it's not, people don't need to be in front of a camera or be written up in magazines and newspapers, and they're still accomplishing the things that we consider great. And here's one of them. See, I told you, I'd give you a compliment.
Well, thank you for the
There
compliment.
you go. Fine.
Well, what do you say about this, Manoli? So, because obviously you went through different paths. So Dino went and chased Manny because that's what he needed to do. He needed to prove your dad, he needed to prove to your dad that he was this, charismatic. And whereas you brought in the community and family.
Yeah, I think it's fascinating. It's really an interesting thing about dynamics of people, even though we both lived in the same house. And we both have the same parents, and in many ways, and he talked about school, but even outside of school, my parents had friends and those friends had kids. And the way we socialize, and again, I don't want to call it, the what the average American family does. I don't know, but at least speaking from kind of the Greek community, you know, when we would go to a house, and this is all the way through high school, probably through till maybe like junior, senior year, the family would go visit the family.
Right.
And the parents would hang out with the parents, and the kids would disappear in basements or go someplace else. And
Right.
we'd have
Yeah.
our own fun. And then we would get together at the end of the night and leave.
Yeah.
We get together, eat, and then we would have different fun. Like the kids would do their thing. And we did that the whole time. So, and I really enjoyed that kind of feeling, if you will, of community. So when I moved down here, I don't know. I mean, you know, like you said, he had a different path. I had a different path. I mean, it's always nice to see the things he accomplished and the monetary things that he was able to acquire, which, you know, working for a company, typically you don't acquire those kind of things unless you own it. I wasn't driven by that. I really was driven more by the other aspects of life, which was, you know, the outside of work stuff too. So, I mean, I've turned down promotions to leave this area, but I've had such a great network of friends that I really didn't want to leave. I really enjoyed the life that we had created. I mean, could I have done better financially? Of course you could have. But am I happy with what we've done? Of course I have. So I actually, you know, to your point and to his point, is while he was chasing those things which he was wired to do for all the different reasons he talks about, you know, my dad sensed it, and he talks about it in his book. It's like, you know, this is not all what life's about.
Yes.
And what's cool now is with the cloud of sober, you know, the cloud of addiction kind of moving off. I think he sees things in a different way, and I'm glad to hear the things that he's saying, because to me, in the end, that's what life's about, right? Nobody wants to, you know, live their life and realize they you know, there wasn't that kind of close connection with people, right? So, and I think the older you get, the more you reflect on it. I think he's done that now as he's had more time to think through things, and I'm happy for him. I really am.
I like that, and it's very interesting. So Manoli, you obviously didn't feel, or maybe you saw it in a different way. You didn't feel that you had to prove yourself constantly to your dad, like Dino did.
Right. And maybe that's being the second child. Maybe it's the fact of the child that didn't follow the path that, you know, my dad wanted as a school teacher. Maybe it was both of those things combined, probably, that gave him that extra passion to do something different. You know, I don't have the first child syndrome. I don't know, you know, tend to follow your dad's path, you know. So I don't know.
Yes, that's really quite interesting now, because I mean, what we've learned about your dad, that's exactly what he did, right? You just weren't the school teacher.
Right. Yep.
Yeah. So that's really cool. It's so good to see the difference here. And that's, and it happens, and it is like that. If I had to have a Zoom with my sister, it would be like, well, who are you? We're also totally different, and that's what makes it exciting, right? So Dino, how do you feel about being back in because now it's like the sheep that's coming back into the fold, right?
Well, it is, you know, I mean, this to me is an extra layer of life that you know, in the past I didn't think I needed, but obviously it's important. Family is important. I'm still the guy, you know, I'm sober and clean, and we all know that, but I'm still an entrepreneur. So I'm still going to go on these paths and do, you know, things that other people find very crazy or risky.
And you're already doing that. I mean,
You already, yes. Yeah.
Yeah, well, it didn't take long, but I mean, that's just me. But I also am at a point where I have the ability and want to stop and smell the roses and enjoy.
I'll give you an example. When we went and visited him in Idaho, and this is kind of at the peak of his earning, you know, based on the books discussion. I hardly talked to him, even though I was there with him, short of being us on the ski slopes that one time, is because he was always on his phone, never connecting with everybody around him. And I could tell you now, he's hardly on his phone. I mean, he's on his phone to do his thing, but then he also knows to turn it off. And I think that compartmentalization is important. I mean, you got to know when to play and when to, I mean, yeah, I mean, you work hard as an entrepreneur, just like you work hard if like I work hard as well in my company. But in the end, you got to be able to know it's time to put that aside and do other things. And I think he's kind of starting to figure that out and say, hey, it's pretty cool.
You know what the funny thing is that even though we're now much older, it's kind of like we're still 7 and 10 years old.
A lot like that.
A lot
Seriously,
like
I know it
that.
sounds funny,
With
but
the rest of the family.
they look at us like,
They think we're very strange, but we're, what do you call it? A nice word for an instigator. A poker? Something like that.
we've experienced a lot of things and watched a lot of the same movies, and we can kind of almost communicate to each other today in code. A lot of people still don't know what we're talking about.
Yeah.
I love
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
So it's like we didn't miss a beat, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
And,
that's
I know my parents would be happy. I know that they respected the fact that we took different paths, and they gave us our space and our time, and but I think they hurt because my dad had said it before to me, because when he and my mom moved to Florida back in the early 2000s. He moved basically 5 miles from his brother. And they saw each other multiple times a week over the 15, 20 years they were in Florida, and had many of the same friends and hung out together in many of the same places. And he said to me, and probably told you too, he's like, I wish the two of you would have that kind of relationship that me and my brother have. I wish you to. It pains me that you don't have that. And I'm like, Dad, I said, it's not, I don't not want it. It's just not happening, So I know that they're looking down and they're happy, and that's kind of makes me feel good too.
Yeah.
And we have to, we're now talking about your dad, we have to bring up your mother, because like I've said before, like Dino said actually in our Celebrate Life episode, she waited for her son. She waited for her son to get clean. She waited for him to come, and she waited to bring you together. So it's actually really, it's really a beautiful thing, the power of a mother's love. And I think both of them looking at this, they're going like, oh, cool, we did it. So, so that's exciting as well, because
I think it was neat was my mom, physically saw it, because, even in her physical inability to leave her bed in that last month, she saw us goofing around. I mean, we talked to her. Yeah, we were serious, but we were also goofing.
Yeah.
And I think she smiled. I think you could see her kind of smiling and kind of pointing her finger. And it was fun.
There's a lot of the old days that I would bring up that you forgot about. And that was kind of cool. We were doing that in front of my mom. She was just like, but she enjoyed it.
She really did.
I really want to say about one thing that I did to you when we were kids. Well, because I think people need to know.
Okay. Well, I don't know what
So either the bee, we could talk about, or the bird. Which one? The wasp.
You could tell them about the. I don't remember.
What about Billy?
Go ahead. I don't remember, but that's fine. I'll remember after you say it. I'm sure he's got a very good memory.
Yeah. So here's the things that we would do just as kids.
Good, clean fun.
Good, clean fun, of course. So he would always come home from school maybe about an hour after I did. And this was around the time where I was taking chemistry. So that, at school, there's flasks and Bunsen burners and all that stuff, right? So somehow, and I don't know how, a flask of ether went in my backpack. Like I said, I don't know how that happened. But anyway, I got home and I'm like, wow, this is cool. I mean, what do you do with it? And the first thing I thought of was maybe, like they do in the movies, put it on a cloth, and when my brother comes home, knock him out. But I figured that no, he would probably tell my dad and I'd get in trouble. And that was the only reason that stopped me, by the way. But then I saw this wasp that was in the house, and it was on a window and it was trying to get out. And I figured I'd just do an experiment. So I put a glass, grabbed it, And so the wasp was under a glass. And then I took a little bit of paper and soaked it in ether and put it under the glass. And the wasp was knocked out. And I'm like, okay. So then I waited to see how long it takes for the wasp to get back and recuperate. So I did it again.
I forgot about this.
Well, because I needed to know what the time was to revive it. Only this time I took a string and I made like a little leash around its neck when it was out cold and had it like that. And then I measured the distance from the door to his bedroom that opens to the center of the room. And then I tied the end of the string on a paperweight. So you got the wasp on a leash, on a string that's tied to the paperweight in the middle of his bedroom. So the wasp comes to, and obviously if I was a wasp, I'd be very aggravated.
Exactly.
Because here he is, he's flying around doing his thing, and then somebody just like knocks him out. When he gets up, he wants revenge. So this wasp, let's say, was very angry.
I forgot about this.
Yeah, I did. So the wasp comes to, and then it's so mad, it starts flying. But because it's on a leash, it's flying around the
circles.
room like this in
Yeah.
circles. And so that was perfect. And I closed the door and then I waited. And then he comes home from school and opens his bedroom door and he sees this wasp going around.
We didn't have video games back then, so this was the kind of fun we'd have.
Yeah, but this is good fun. The reaction of sheer terror was priceless. I mean, I wish we could videotape it. But these are some of the games of love that we used to play.
I mean, really, it was completely that. It wasn't at all malice. It was just fun.
I mean, but at the same time, like they have today, all these precautions and stuff. I mean, what's the worst thing that happens? It gets stung by a wasp. Big deal, and that's how we looked at things. But we were always out of the house. We were always
Here's another thing we
exploring.
did to him.
You never did it.
Yeah. So, and this may sound a little weird, but you know how in playgrounds you have like the merry-go-rounds that go around and around. It's like what do you call that thing?
Carousel.
It's a little carousel. It's a manual thing.
Yeah, it's like a merry-go-round.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So me and my friend, we would ride bikes during that time, but this is before we drove cars. And we had bicycle chains that we would lock up our bikes when we go into stores and all
I
that.
forgot about this.
Mhm.
All
So
right.
since you have a story, I got a story.
Yeah, go ahead.
So we took them and we locked them, chained them to this merry-go-round,
It's a perfectly natural
and then
childhood game.
spun
How
him,
do you come up with this stuff?
spun him until
sorry,
he
carry
threw
on.
up. Spun him until he threw up, and then unchained him and watched him walk like a drunkard.
Yeah, that was funny.
Yeah.
The chains were a great effect too,
Yeah.
because in case I wanted to leave, yeah, yeah.
I don't know what happened. I don't know if other people saw us or not, but this is the kind of fun we had. I mean,
Well, I'm going to tell you one that I think traumatized him for many years, because out of all the things that I can't keep a secret about, for some reason, this one I held for many years. It was pretty cool. So we had a parakeet named Billy, a blue and white parakeet. I loved that bird. And I used to sleep with him every night. He used to actually go under the covers with me. And again, this is around the time where he comes home 1 hour later. And I was playing with Billy. He was in my hand. And then the bird was like shaking. And then he just stopped moving. I'm like, holy cow, Billy, that was the name of the bird. And so I was sad, but sadness changed to curiosity, because I noticed that while I was sad about it, rigor mortis set in. So the bird's as stiff as a rock, And I remember one of our family friends, they had a Chihuahua, and that Chihuahua, after the Chihuahua passed, they stuffed it. And then I started thinking, is this what stuffing a bird would look like? So I take the bird, all frozen solid now with rigor mortis, put him back on the perch in his cage to see how it would look stuffed. And then I just left him there, right? By this time, he's coming home. So he goes in my bedroom and he's like, Billy, how you doing? And he's sticking out his finger because you know the bird goes on the finger.
Yes, yes.
Only this time his finger hit the bird and the bird fell to the bottom of the cage.
I remember that.
And I said, you killed Billy. And he was so upset about it. And I didn't tell him for a couple of years. And that was the longest secret that I had. But you don't remember
I
that?
don't, I really don't.
That you murdered Billy?
I don't remember that.
Well,
So I was able to tune it out.
yeah. Well,
Yes, so that's how traumatized he was.
yeah.
That's
but
how
I mean, these are the
traumatized you
kinds
were,
of-
right?
These are the kind of things kids did.
No, he's saying the truth.
So what are you doing now? Also, what kind of mischief are you doing now? That's what I'm saying.
No, it's good, clean fun now.
Yeah.
No, you know what? He's we obviously both have kids. He's a grandpa now too.
Got a 1 year.
Nice.
Yeah,
Oh,
so-
congratulations. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, so and there's dogs. His kids have dogs.
He loves dogs.
I love dogs. I train them in a little special way. And
The only thing gets traumatized are my kids' dogs. Is what.
well, they like to play. I'd like to think of
Yeah,
it that
like
way.
that.
And
Clean fun.
good, clean fun. And so I mean, it's just, it's a laid back Sunday. So I mean, a good movie, some good leftovers from, the night before, and just family time. It's kind of fun.
So you're making up for lost time.
Yeah, but you don't look at it that way. I mean, I honestly feel like obviously we're brothers, but we're friends, you know what I mean? And we have a connection that nobody really can understand, but we were very, very close. And so literally almost everybody he knows, I know. I mean, from the past, obviously now I'm
But you're getting to know a lot of the people that I've known over the last several years. I mean, you know probably half of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I like them. They're all great people, and we hang out and we have fun. We were at an oyster roast yesterday because his son's getting married. It was an engagement party.
Oh, nice.
And there were about 75 people, and my big brother over here started dancing Greek.
I love
And-
it.
Yeah,
Right.
it was a lot of fun.
That's like the best thing when we had parties. That was it. We always used to dance Greek. You have to dance Zorba the Greek, otherwise it's not a party, right?
But you're
Exactly.
Italian.
I know.
Don't you have your own songs?
The tarantella.
Yeah, we do the tarantella and we dance waltzes and tangos. But I've brought a lot of my friends have been Greek growing up.
It's the same culture,
So you have,
very
yeah.
similar.
So we have to have Zorba the Greek and we have to dance Greek. And then, of course, it's like, hey, come along. And my son, when he started school, he was at a Greek school
Oh, really?
for like 3
Cool.
years. And then I took him out. I thought, because he was starting to speak Greek, because you have to speak
Oh,
Greek.
no.
He was starting to speak Greek instead of Italian, right? But it was cool. And the interesting part is, because you've also noticed, is the Greeks. I was a single mother, right? So I had a little VW, and I'd make sure that I'd go in at a certain time because, of course, all the mothers would come with their big cars and all dressed to kill. And
Yeah.
it was like this whole vibe, and the Christmas parties, you'd have Santa coming in a helicopter, and it was like over the top.
Really? Wow.
Over the top
Wow.
of Greek. So it was a very interesting time as well. So
Talking about parties, I'll tell you what, one more story from the past that we did. This is what you do. This is now we're teenagers, older teenagers, we're driving. And this is what we did. We actually did this one night for just fun. So we dressed up in a suit and in suits. It was me and him and I think one more friend, I'm not sure which of the two they were, was there with us. And there were a lot of banquet halls in Chicago. And every weekend, there were always weddings guaranteed.
You're the original wedding crashers.
So exactly. So we actually just dropped into a banquet hall and went to a wedding, open bar, right?
It was the best time.
And then when you talk to people, they're like, "Well, I don't know you. Whose side are you from?" And I said,
Bill.
No. Before that, it's like, well, which side were you on? Oh, the bride. Oh, well, we're the groom.
Yeah, always the opposite. So you can't
all the
verify it.
opposites. And we'd have free drinks at the open bar.
What a great
Actually did
thing to
that.
think about. And then, years later, they come out with the movie Wedding Crashers.
We did.
That was us.
I know. I mean, who thinks of that as a 19-year-old and 17-year-old?
No.
That's what we did.
Yeah, we had a big tape recorder wherever we went that took like 8G batteries. We kept it in our coat and we'd record the entire night on cassette. I mean, we did some crazy things. I mean, fun things.
Creative things.
Yeah,
Yes,
more
yes.
creative than we loved using our imagination. That was the bottom line.
I actually love that. I can see that with your suits and
Oh man.
so where to from here?
I don't know. I mean, just taking it, 1 week at a time. I think that it's kind of neat to see him enjoy the area. I think it's kind of neat to see him integrate and find, different things to do and getting to meet some of the friends that, we have mutually now. And it's just neat to kind of see him, kind of expand his wings. This time, though, I see it, up close and personal. Before, I kind of sort of heard about it once every, few months on a phone call or through my dad or something. Your brother's doing this.
This is firsthand now. He gets to see.
So I get to see. So that's kind of cool. That part's kind of cool.
Yeah.
And just as I get a chance to take a peek at, kind of his creativity when it comes to business, he gets a chance to get a peek of the rest of the stuff that he hadn't had experience for, right?
Like a family man.
Right? Like an oyster roast, like going to trivia and playing trivia with friends and family. You never did that kind
Like
of stuff.
doing things with people.
It
Right.
doesn't involve
business.
So it is kind of cool that I get a chance to get a peek of that, and he gets a chance to see the other side. So it's kind of neat.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a sad thing. I don't feel bad about it, but I mean, if you really think about it, I became a selling machine. That's all I knew. I ate and slept that. No crying, no complaining, no family, no attachments, no nothing. This is like a completely new world for me. And I know it's weird at 56 going on 57 to say that. Wow, people are great. But I'm saying that, better late than never, right?
Exactly.
But it's kind of cool. And at the same time, like you said, he gets to see here's just come into a little sleepy little town, which I love. And all of a sudden just say, I'm going to do this and just start it. And it just starts.
Yeah.
So it's like almost writing another book, which I'm not going to do, but it's like a firsthand experience.
I mean, sure, because when I saw him in December, he wasn't really sure exactly what he was going to do. When he first came down, kind of sort of scouting out.
It was right after my freak out.
Oh, yes.
When he first came down, I mean, he was sort of like a little bit lost and not sure exactly. I mean, it's somebody, like he said, he was ready. He was clean and sober, ready to kind of reconnect to his passion of what he does, but he just didn't know where to do it. And it's not often that you see him lost, because once he's missile locked on something, that's how he always is. He's missile-locked. So he was kind of like a little bit wandering. So we talked a little bit about different things, and I think that was great. And then shortly after that, you kind of found your new path.
Yeah. Well, a day after we spoke, I got the house.
Literally a day after you spoke.
So it didn't take long at all. But that was it. That's all I needed to see. I needed to just, when I came out here, I'm like, what am I going to see? How are they going to accept me? The first question is, where were you? What happened? Always those things. And of course,
that did kind of freak him out a lot at the beginning. He wasn't sure about that. But then, you kind of sort of trusted. You said, like, well, let's just see. And
yeah.
I think it's been good.
Yeah, I mean, but by now everybody knows what happened, but that's not the end of my life. That's not the end of my story. It's just beginning again, right? And so, the things that I was afraid of the most coming out here, like, oh, I gotta explain myself again. I'm a social person, right? And this is what I do in business. Now I do it in personal as well. I mean, I've always done this, and so I knew that I was going to lose my damn mind if I didn't just get up and make that change. Something inside, my inner voice was telling me it's time to see your mom. And I'm so blessed that I did that. But aside from my mom, it was time for me to move on. It was time for me to reconnect with family. And again, I never underestimate that little voice in your head. Always listen to it. Even though you think you disagree, the voice is always right. and just follow it. And that's what I did. And, I mean, are there going to be bumps in the road? There's going to be bumps in any road,
That's
but,
life, yeah.
but that's life. It's not always supposed to be easy, but
But here's a confirmation to your even decision. I mean, he went back to Idaho to kind of wrap things up this last week. And, what did you text me? Like literally, he's like, I can't wait to get back out of here. I mean, he already had moved on and this is kind of his new home. And he was like, okay,
yeah,
that wasn't like nostalgic, like, oh man, what did I do? What did I leave?
No,
that's
not-
good.
there was no emotional attachment to any of it. In fact, it was like the opposite. It was like sucking the energy out of me. And this is another 38-hour drive. I mean, I went back,
It's another story. for you.
closed up my house, and then got in my other vehicle and started driving back. All kinds of wind, all kinds of snow, all kinds of ice, all kinds of elements
Again.
that I'm facing. And 38 hours, my job was to drive here as fast as humanly possible because I just couldn't stand it. As soon as I came here, I'm just like completely, I feel at home, I feel at peace, and I feel very connected, and it's great.
That's good. You needed to just close that up
Yeah,
and
Yeah.
move on, which is
close
good.
another chapter, start a new one.
Oh, that's what it's about, right? So it's all
Yep.
about new beginnings now, which is very exciting. Especially now with the foundation as well, that's starting to grow and
The foundation's starting to grow, and he's starting to see it, and he's talking about retiring, and trust me, I'm gonna be seeing if he wants to help out later. Gotta help everybody if the Miliotis boys are together.
Right.
Woo!
right. Yes, Manoli, I don't think you'll actually retire, right? You might retire from work, from your business, but what are you going to do? Sit on a rocking chair and watch the days go by?
I never do that. I mean, I'm kind of like, we even though we take different tasks, we both are very similar in the way that we want to achieve in whatever we typically do. If you put us in a situation, it's not long before we both take charge. So, I mean, we both have that same characteristics. We just use it in different ways. So, I'm not the kind of person that will sit around. I always will find something to do, either for income or even volunteer,
Oh, and we're gonna start a band again, because we were in a band together, when was it?
A long time ago.
40 years ago.
Oh, cool. So what do you play? Who sings? Who does vocals? Who plays the electric guitar?
We could both do vocals, but lead vocal, I prefer it be
Somebody else.
But he plays guitar and mandolin, and I play drums.
Nice.
And we were playing with my dad when we were like literally babies. I was
Yeah.
playing on Tupperware with 2 wooden spoons, and he had his plastic pink guitar
Yeah.
with flowers, pink with flowers.
That's
And
the one I got.
yeah. Mhm. And
So I think that's another thing too, is people are like, well, don't put your kids in something, or let them find their path. My dad basically had said, look, I want you to learn to play guitar. And I'm like, Dad, I don't want to play guitar. Anyway, he said, well, just try it. So I did a few lessons, and after a while I loved it. And it's one of the joys I have today. In my free time, I'll play guitar. And it's all because he pushed me a little bit,
yeah, he wanted me to play guitar, but then I hit the Tupperware.
Well, that's all right.
But it, I
like something else.
what he wanted was us to have passion for music, not necessarily the instrument,
Right.
but you took it literally, and I didn't.
Yeah, that's all right.
Just like the time that my dad, we were in a car. You could get arrested for this nowadays,
Oh, yeah.
but we were in a car together, and my dad parked, and he said, "I'm going in."
It was some government building, and it was not in a great neighborhood.
Yeah,
So he was kind of like, look, I'm just gonna run in and pay a bill and run back out. Don't leave the car.
yeah. And it was, about 95
It was summer,
degrees,
because my dad was off of school.
95 degrees outside. So we're
So?
sitting in the car,
I didn't leave the car.
10 minutes, took it literally, don't stay in the car. We're both in the back seat. Windows are not down, they're up.
Electric car.
It's an electric window. So we're in the car and we're sweating and burning and everything. And finally, I'm just like, I'm getting out of the car. So I open the door to get out. I close the door. He's still in it.
I don't know about that. I don't remember that. You did crack the door just to get some air. And it's like,
door.
duh.
I got out. Yeah, you
I don't
opened it.
remember that.
Dad said to stay in the car.
I did say I was a rule follower.
So you follow the rules, Manoli. That's really good. So
Yeah.
you follow the rules, and Dino
Yeah.
breaks them. It's a good. It's
Right.
A good,
And that's actually what one of our strengths when we were growing up, because I'd have more fun than I would have had I been by myself, and I kept him from having so much fun that he'd get arrested.
Yeah,
So it was actually a good kind of a yin and
Just a
yang.
good.
he's a good ground for me. Just left to my own.
And then what happened when I left, and then it's when his trouble started.
Okay, because you laughed as my trouble
I'm
started,
just saying.
because you're not the ground. You
That's
see,
right. It's
he's
true.
taking credit for the ground.
I'm just saying. What happened?
Admit it. It was a lot more fun with me than without.
I didn't say it wasn't. I am the one who opened it up. But you took away my part, so you got to give me my part back.
What's that?
That I'm the ground.
The ground.
Say it.
Okay.
There you go.
Yeah, he's the
He
ground.
said it. You heard it.
Yeah, he's the
Yes.
ground. Unplugged, Carina.
You can see, but you can see he's the ground because he stayed in Manoli stayed in a job, stayed in this place, developed community, is with family, the beacon of someone in society, in community, grounded, good, nice business.
George Bailey.
And then Dino went and had all the fun.
Right.
Well,
I don't know about all the fun, but he certainly experienced some elements of fun. At the same time, when you do that, you also experience things that aren't fun. So
yeah.
I told him, I said, look, I'm not saying that what you did, I mean, if that's your path and what the things that you did, that's great. I said, I know for me, I couldn't be able to sleep at night with this kind of uncertainty, the make it and the lose it and the make it and the lose it and the make it and the lose it. That to me, I couldn't have done it. I probably wouldn't be alive today.
No,
But you know what? He thrived on that, and that I couldn't thrive on.
but that's the fun.
Mm.
It's like skiing. You like skiing. This is the same thing, except it's with humans and business. You
I
just
don't think the same thing,
yeah, it's a little bit like that. You know what I mean?
but that's okay.
No, it's
I'm not
fine.
telling you that. That's
I know
wrong.
you're not. Well, what do you think?
I'm loving this. It's very cool. I love the yin and yang. It's good.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, thank you for having.
And
us.
it's great to see you together and thriving and Dino, it's nice to see Dino that's not freaking out, and the growth and how far we've come from the very beginning. Manoli, you have to go and see those first videos. You won't believe it's your brother now.
I will. Now that you told me this, I will.
He's totally different.
Oh,
I was very formal. I didn't know Carina Gorgonzola. I don't know who is this lady. I don't know. But
I didn't know
it's
you-
all good.
It
It's
was
all good. And
yeah.
that's how life's supposed to be. So
Yes.
anyway, I know we always have a lesson in every show.
Right.
This one, I don't know what kind. I hope somebody gets something out of this.
there's something in there if you think about it, Arno.
I think there is too. I mean, I was just joking, but this is something that I think was important that we can share the other side of, what we present, which is, a family and a real story and a real life and a real brother and some of the things that we've been through. So it's kind of cool. I appreciate it.
It's very
Thank
cool.
you, brother.
And it's
Yeah,
very cool.
Nice
I think.
to talk to the wonderful Carina.
The wonderful.
Oh,
Carina.
wow. Thank you. So what I'm saying is, I think the lesson here is that if you're apart, you can come together, whatever it is. Just
That's a great
just
lesson.
That's a good one.
get over your differences, talk to each other and see what's possible. I mean, you
Yeah.
guys are so dynamic and powerful. Imagine what you can do together now. Watch out
Yeah,
wherever
it's
you
scary.
are. Watch out this little sleepy town. It's not going to be sleepy for long, right?
That's what I said.
Okay.
I keep saying there's could be an M&M corporation here. M&M.
Who knows?
Eminem,
Who
right?
knows?
Who knows? Who knows, right? And that's another exciting thing. All the possibilities. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
It's been such an honor and privilege to have you, Manoli, on our show. Thank you so much
Karina. I love
for,
your- By the way, I love your accent too. Not just the accent, but the pronunciation of our name too is just phenomenal. You do a perfect job.
thank you. Thank you, Manoli. Thank you so much for that.
Manny Stone. Thank you.
Wow.
Thank you
wow,
so much.
Wow. Thank you. Hey, guys,
Thank
I
you.
hope you enjoyed this segment. This is the Miliotis Brothers Unplugged. Thank you for watching. Break Fear, Find Freedom. Don't forget to share. Don't forget to subscribe. And we'll see you here next week on
Thank
Break
you.
Fear, Find Freedom.
Thank
Bye.
you, everyone. It's been
Ciao.
awesome. See ya. Bye.
Bye.